All right, everyone, welcome. And we always like to begin with a nice silent meditation. And so we'll go ahead and do that today. It also gives some people some time to arrive if they need to. Welcome back, everybody. Too long, too short? So our goal is always to not only have an altruistic mind, a virtuous mind, and make that diligent effort to come to be with Sangha, but we must also focus on our meditation practice. That is like the time, that peaceful therapy for your own mind, for you to get to know yourself. And so it's especially important as Buddhist practitioners. A lot of us will, which of course is part of the teachings of the Dharma, recite the Buddhist teachings over and over and over again. And all of the Buddhist teachings, especially in the Vajrayana path, which is the path of Buddhism that we are in, the Drikung Kagyu, authentic lineage of Tibetan Buddhism recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it is very important for us to follow the three trainings, the trainings of the Hinayana vehicle of Theravedic Buddhism and the Mahayana vehicle as well, where the motivation changes to the benefit of all sentient beings. And then the Vajrayana vehicle, which contains all other traditions of Buddhism, as well as the ability to reach enlightenment through every action of body, speech, and mind in one lifetime. Mahayana Buddhism as well as Vajrayana Buddhism also have the motivation of doing this for not just oneself but others. So when we talk about what defines you as a Sangha member, as a not someone that just attends or someone what truly makes the difference between you and just an attendee or a guest is your conduct. So we all know that our conduct, our actions of body, speech, and mind are what create our circumstances. And so like when I have a little bit of a stomach karma, I'm like, oh, well, at least stomach karma is being purified now. And I maybe won't have to deal with it in the weekend. It's like, you understand that this pain you may feel, or this sense of discomfort, or this challenge to your happiness is the fruition of wrongdoing. And so because it's the fruition of wrongdoing, we, in essence, created those causes and conditions for that suffering. We create our own suffering. This is not an exaggeration. I mean, we truly create our own suffering. And how we respond to that suffering determines how we are going to progress and move forward. Are we going to be stuck in an endless cycle of suffering? So the Buddhist teachings, like I've said, they're medicine. If you follow just the Upasaka Vows, the 5 moral precepts, it's also called Shila. If you follow those, to refrain from killing or shortening any being's life, any being, refrain from theft or stealing, taking anything that does not belong to oneself, includes these little pens in the banks or a lighter you borrowed from someone to light some incense. Refrain from divisive speech, which is gossip or meaningless idle chatter. You should always speak about what's meaningful, relevant, and true, and improves upon the situation. And more importantly, speak about people when they're there in front of you. And if they're not in front of you, then you're gossiping. So if, in a sense, if you have to speak about them because it's relevant, speak out of a place of concern and compassion where you do not disparage others. And then, of course, there's sexual misconduct, which I feel everyone understands. It's, all about consent, about being faithful, about, doing the right thing, abiding by the laws, and especially the laws of the body. And especially when it comes to desire that's based off attachment, that has no meaningful compassion in any way. And then we refrain from taking intoxicants that cloud the mind. And so if you have refrained, and by the way, you don't have to take all of these. you can be a Buddhist simply by taking refuge in front of the Buddha statue, visualizing that it is the Buddha giving you the blessings. The more powerful your faith and resolve into that external visualization or image or lama or everything like that that you see in front of you, and you take any of these 5 vows by taking refuge in the Buddha, which is your potential, the potential of awakening, the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, and sort of like the medication to suffering, the antidote to suffering, the antidote to anger, desire, and ignorance. And you take refuge in the noble assembly of Sangha. And so you take those 3 jewels, those 3 precious jewels, you take refuge in those 3 precious jewels. And you would take 1, 2, or temporarily, at least a little bit of one of these vows. To make yourself a Buddhist, you have to at least follow one of the vows. Okay? Now, if you take, it is more important for you to follow the vow than break the vow. Because if you break a vow, that is an incredibly heavy karma. So you want to make sure you're realistic to yourself. So if you're saying, oh, well, I'm going to refrain from divisive speech, but you work in a place that's, you know, corporate America, or, you know, in a very big corporation, or you're a CEO, or you're on Zoom all the time, or anything like that. And it's very, very challenging for you to be mindful and to be aware of every word that passes through the second door, you know, the door of speech, then that's not a vow that you should take. However, if you are having a you day and you're not going to, you know, communicate with anyone or anything like that, and you're just going to have like a quiet day to yourself, you can stand in front of the Buddha statue and say, you know, today on August 18th, I refrain from divisive speech, you know. You could even say, you know, I refrain from killing, stealing, divisive speech, sexual misconduct, and taking intoxicants for 8 hours and then go to sleep, you know? And you would be keeping your vow, but be very specific. Now, one that has taken all of the vows genuinely, no killing, no stealing, no divisive or improper speech, no sexual misconduct, and no intoxicants, at that point, one becomes an Upasaka. And so an Upasaka is basically a lay person or a Sangha member with vows. Okay? And so you don't need to take all of them. You don't need to be a complete Upasaka. You can take, you know, the one that I always think is the easiest is to refrain from killing. I always think that's the easiest. You know, even if a mosquito bites you or anything like that, just to refrain from killing. You know, and I think, you know, refraining from stealing is also very easy to me. I'm the first person that, I'm like, this is not mine. I quickly go find someone that it is and I give it back to them. But remember that karma is created whether you're aware of your misconduct or not. So you create karma out of anger, attachment, and ignorance. So if you take that pen from the bank, or you go and you buy groceries and you have like maybe Gatorade on the very bottom shelf because, you know, it doesn't fit, and you walk out of the store and you didn't do it on purpose. And in fact, even the cashier's job is to make sure that they rung up everything, and the pen, I guess, needed a chain pre-COVID, you know, anything like that. But if you see your error that you did out of ignorance, okay, that will create the causes and conditions for poverty. So we need to immediately resolve this. So we go back into Target with our big heavy thing and we say, oh, on the receipt, you forgot to charge me for the Gatorade. And they'll go and they'll charge you and they'll be very, very grateful. And it's small things like that that you can do. And you can return pens and you can do all this stuff. You know, sometimes we do these things out of ignorance. But if you wait a while and you haven't done that, or you were just so unmindful, unaware, because remember that Buddhism is about awareness, mindfulness and awareness, loving kindness and compassion. If you've gone about being ignorant of these things, that means your mind wasn't in a state of mindfulness. Like my friend says, the miracle of mindfulness, it's truly transforming. And when you're unmindful, you create more negative deeds. So it is very, very, very important. It's extremely important that we understand those 5 precepts, okay? Those 5 precepts are essentially important. That makes you, as soon as you take refuge is the beginning. You take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. What this means is that's the foundation for your practice, that you understand the Four Noble Truths. You understand that the Buddha made sense to you, that his teachings on the Four Noble Truths were logical. You understand that the Noble Eightfold Path will get you there. You understand that there's cause and effect, karma. You understand that karma is created by negative actions of body, speech, and mind. And so naturally, you want to emulate the perfect conduct and body, speech, and mind of all of the Buddhas of past, present, and future. So when someone takes a look at you, your conduct is what's going to differentiate you from someone else. So whether there is a lama, a very high lama, a very renowned lama, whether there is a Nagpa or a Nakma, whether there's an Upasaka or a Buddhist that has taken refuge in one of the precepts or anything like that, regardless, or even a Bodhisattva who follows the 6 perfections, remember, we believe in equanimity. Equanimity is truly the source. Equanimity, the union of compassion and wisdom. No one higher or lower than the other, because all of us have Buddha nature inside of us. So when we talk about the Noble Eightfold Path, a lot of people, know about the Four Noble Truths, the truth about suffering, the truth about the origins of suffering, the truth about the end of suffering, and the truth about the path to the end of suffering. But in order for you, so this is actually a Theravada Mahayana and Vajrayana tradition to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. And if you think about it, the 5 precepts are so that you stop creating negative karma. Okay? The Noble Eightfold Path is so that you can liberate yourself from suffering. Okay? And suffering, we know on an intellectual level, is the result of our own misdeeds. Whether we are aware of them, whether we did them when we were 3 and through a tantrum or anything like that, they all manifest. They manifest as, either sickness or anger or, being hurt or bitten or anything like that. Any kind of discomfort, any kind of challenge you have, that is a manifestation of your own actions. So it's very important that we also, as Buddhists, follow the Noble Eightfold Path. When you adopt the complete conduct of body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas, you are considered stainless in your understanding of the Buddhist teachings of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. So you follow the 8 trainings. And this is very important. First, an individual on the Noble Eightfold Path, they understand the fundamental level of the true nature of reality, phenomena, impermanence, karma, cause and effect. And this is very important. The true nature of reality. The true natures of reality is not this chair, or table or bench, or, actually, I think it's technically a footstool. But, ultimately, what is it? If we look for the essence of this meditation bench, if we remove I think this is fake wood, so we'll just say linoleum stuff here, the particle board, everything like that, the architect that, drew it, the person that assembled it, everything like that. If you look for the meditation benchness, it doesn't exist outside of its, parts. It's only through its parts that it actually we identify it as a meditation bench, you know, like all of these computer stands that you think are meditation benches, you know, and that's exactly what they are. We have totally transformed, in this case, like, you know, something that would be like, we won't say it's as bad as transforming poison into nectar, but we transform something mundane into something spiritual. And that is a lot about what the miracle of mindfulness and awareness and the Buddhist teachings are, is to convert every experience that we experience throughout our lives into one that is spiritually helping us achieve the ultimate state of our purpose as humans. You know, our purpose is for our human existence is to be of benefit to others, is to reach awakening, spiritual awakening, to reach enlightenment. So first you understand, you know, the First Noble Truth is all about understanding the teachings of the, you know, sort of the true nature of reality. It's basically right view, you know, understanding phenomena, understanding that everything, it goes through a period of decay. Everything is impermanent, nothing lasts forever. And karma, cause and effect. Secondly, it's like right intention or right effort, you know. So your intention is to be of benefit to all sentient beings, including oneself and others, by dedicating yourself earnestly to the path of non-violence. And this is non-violence and compassion for all. Now, the third in the Noble Eightfold Vows is when we talk about right speech. When you speak about things, make sure that it's meaningful, relevant, honest, and true. And, you know, it's been said that, you know, if your words cannot improve upon the silence, then why say anything? Why challenge that peaceful silence with a word? So understand that, you know, it's like that right thing. The third thing is about, you know, right speech. Right speech includes not gossiping, speaking ill of someone, or anything like that. Remember, you have to follow these fundamental basic ethics. If not, you're not following the Noble Eightfold Path that is the fundamental basis for all vehicles of Buddhism, including Tibetan Buddhism and the Drikung Kagyu lineage of Buddhism. Now, fourth, a practitioner must follow all basic ethics. Fourth is basically like moral ethics, you know, your ethics. You need to be, this is an action of body. So this means all those 5 precepts of killing, stealing, divisive speech, sexual misconduct, taking, you know, your conduct, you need to follow them, follow perfect stainless conduct, because in this way, you create the conditions for positivity and a peaceful existence with yourself, with your family, with others, and within the Sangha, which is one of the 3 jewels you also take refuge in. The 5th is very easy in the Noble Eightfold Path, especially, you know, for most of us. But you'd be surprised how many people still have to do this just for simple things. The 5th is to have right livelihood, to have a profession that does not harm directly sentient beings. So like a butcher, that would be harming sentient beings. A person that's creating nuclear weapons. Now, if someone's creating nuclear energies, which is relatively clean, you know, to power homes and everything like that, and they've done it at the right scale and a right place where it doesn't harm the environment and everything like that, that's potentially clean energy, you know, an exponential amount of it. Solar energy, all these things. You could be a scientist and work on all these things, but as soon as things are weaponized, you know, and I'm sad to say, like, if you are in a drone and you press that button that goes ahead and kills sentient beings, that's intentional. That's wrong livelihood, you know. So most of us have jobs where we are either helping people or we're not directly harming them. Okay? Now, this is not to say like that those in the uniform are not doing good, because without them, we wouldn't have the freedom to have our safety to practice our Buddhist faith. You know, there have been many wars throughout history, many wars, and many wars to ensure the liberties of this country where we can practice freely the Buddhist teachings or the Catholic teachings or all the teachings. There are many countries that are very war-torn right now, and nobody is allowed to practice anything but one faith. We're very, very fortunate that this is not the situation we're in. And also, just because you have committed a harm to another sentient being, you understand that there is this karma. In Vajrayana Buddhism, there is a way to purify that negative karma. You know? I mean, if you were defending yourself, that's you were defending yourself, but it doesn't take away the fact that you harmed another sentient being, even if they harmed you. But you defended yourself, you defended a country, you defended your loved ones and everything like that. And you still, if you have remorse, sincere remorse, take sincere refuge in the Buddha, rely on the Buddha's teachings, and resolve not to commit that negative deed again, then that negative deed is purified through those 4 antidotes to making those mistakes. Because we will make mistakes, absolutely. But that doesn't mean bam, you have to start all the way at the bottom. Because of the fact that at this stage you are mindful, you recognize right from wrong. And so at this point, you are able to go and engage in Vajrasattva practice, or you're able to chant Chenrezig practice, or you're able to do some mantra accumulations and do some opposite things, like go and release a whole bunch of like 57 crickets that would normally be like given to I guess chameleons, and take them outside and release them into your backyards because they don't harm the ecosystem and they're detrivores, and dedicate that to the long life and peace of all sentient beings. And there you go, you are preserving life. You are actively saving life in this essence. The same thing with the fish in our koi pond. They're all feeder fish. They're fish that were like 10 cents, 11 cents because they're fed to bigger aggressive fish as food, live food. And we save them and we put them in a pond that to them is probably a parent of an ocean. And we rescued them and we prayed over them and we blessed them and everything like that. And they have this beautiful ecosystem. And you should do that on every one of your birthdays too. Go and liberate something. Now, please don't put goldfish in a waterway because they're incredibly invasive. But if you have a pond, you can get some feeder fish and do that. Or that all around the world, the one thing you can do is crickets. So the 6th is right effort. And right effort is pretty self-explanatory. You need to be, as a practitioner of the Buddhist teachings, devoted to meditating on the Buddhist teachings, such as meditations of loving kindness, of compassion, of wisdom. Studying and contemplating the Dharma day and night until enlightenment is reached is how you will reach enlightenment. It's a very, very concise and very, very, he laid it out very, very simple. We tend to overcomplicate things, and here in our societies and in our cultures, we do have things a little different. When you become a Dharma practitioner, when you dedicate yourself to the Sangha, all of these obstacles will start to arise. Oh, I can't make it to Sangha today because, I'm not feeling well. Oh, I can't do this because, it might rain. Your ego is going to come up with lots and lots of excuses for you not to work on purifying your mind stream and the mind stream of all other sentient beings. And sometimes you just need to push through that ego, that attachment that you have to having it your way when it's most convenient for you or anything like that. You have to be dedicated. You have to have right effort. Right effort. You need to be devoted to meditating on the Buddha's teachings, such as the Four Noble Truths, the four thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma, whether it be Nundro, if you started Nundro practice, whether you started doing your prayer book and you're reading your prayer book daily, which I highly recommend before you get into Nundro with Venerable Lama Konchak Sonam when he returns. You know, you would want to meditate and you want to be stable in your meditation. Because the seventh of the Noble Eightfold Path is to be mindful, present, and aware of every single action of body, speech, and mind. Every single action of body, speech, and mind. It's perfect. Oh, it's perfect mindfulness. Perfect mindfulness. And then the last one, which can't happen without any of the others, is to have perfect single pointed meditative concentration, free from distraction, internal or external. So like I said the other day, if someone was to like cough, you know, like nowadays it's you know, you think about how life is now after the pandemic, you know, and I get allergies very easily. And I'm actually even a little allergic to dogs, and I have one. And you know, my throat will get sick, but I find myself, you know, you want to clear a space as quickly as you can, cough in public, you know, or sneeze in public. You know, during March of last year, everyone would just scatter, you know, cause and effect. You sneeze, you cough, everyone runs. Oh no, it's the Rona, you know? And we still have this mentality today, and it is still actually a problem. We still need to wash our hands before we do our practice. We still need to wash our hands when we go to people's houses. We still need to wear face coverings when we're places where there's children and people that are unvaccinated and things like that. You know, these are things that we do because we're mindful of not our own health, but the welfare of all sentient beings. A vaccine is wonderful. It's great. It is such a blessing that we are a country that is, I want to say, over 60% vaccinated. You know, it might be more now. But there are other countries that don't have that, you know, but that doesn't mean we can't carry it. I mean, you look at the things that are happening right now in Florida, and you look at the things that are happening in Texas, where they're not using discerning wisdom, which is part of the Noble Eightfold Path. You know, discerning wisdom, okay? That doesn't mean the whole state is at fault or anything like that. I'm not blaming or disparaging Florida or Texas or anything like that. I think Texas is great. I think Austin is fun if you like music and live bands. You know, my dad's favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. I don't understand why, but that's his favorite. You know, I am from Florida. I'm a native of Florida. Now I'm a native of Virginia. But, you know, I love Florida. I love mangoes. I love all these things. But you see, there are people that don't want to don't think about others and think about self. And so this applies to them, whether they are doing it out of ignorance, or they're doing it out of attachment, or they're doing it out of aversion. The reality is that use your own wisdom to really understand what you should do, what is best, what should be adopted, and what should be basically renunciated, what should be not done. You know, we're very lucky here in Virginia. You know, we've got a great vaccination. I mean, we're one of the most vaccinated states in the United States. We're able to congregate together without masks as long as we're vaccinated, and it all works on an honor system. And because we are close to the capital of the United States and everything like that, we have very honorable people here. The honor system works here. You know, it really does. I am sure that there are some people that are not being honorable, that are going and just not wearing a mask because they don't want to, they don't believe it, or because of some, you know, view that they have. But that's okay, that's them. We must be responsible for our own conduct, and regardless of whether they are working for the benefit of themselves and only themselves, we must always maintain that motivation to work for the benefit of all mother sentient beings. It's very, very important. And the last of the Noble Eightfold Path is meditative concentration. And in this, it's basically, meditation is not exactly the word it's used. Give me one moment. Ever since we got the HVAC replaced, like now the house doesn't have as much humidity. So I get like my lips are chapped more now. Anyways, excuses and also fruition of my own karma. So anyways, remember, meditation is completely synonymous with concentration. It's focus. It's like a laser, you know, like a little laser that you play with the cat, you know, that laser pointed, you know, focused, you know, it's like all the light focused into a tight beam that points straight, you know. And maybe there's a little cat in your head, and those cats are thoughts. And every time you look at where the cat is, you know, it goes and it follows and it moves you everywhere. But you know, we can't be that way. The right concentration is actually the true interpretation of the eighth of the Noble Eightfold Path, right concentration. And so what would that be? That would be like on the 9th stage of shamatha. Remember when we spoke about the 9 stages of shamatha? I have my ankle that just fell asleep because I'm no longer as young as I used to be, and I was in lotus position for a long time. But anyways, right concentration, meaning you are not distracted at any moment by anything. So you could be meditating, and whether you hear the sounds of the draining of the tank, you know, the water going into the sump in the aquarium, or anything, like if you listen hard enough, you can hear like water in the pipes, you can hear birds chirping, because you're being mindful. If you are truly mindful, you're not shutting out the world. You're not shutting out your anything like that. You are in fact an observer. You are single-pointedly observing, single-pointedly concentrated on either an object or no object. So there's meditation with object and meditation without object. Right concentration means that regardless of external or internal phenomena, internal or external objects of distraction, you remain completely focused and aware in the present moment. Nothing can distract you from that. You're single-pointedly. You choose when you come out of that meditation. And so that's very, very important to all of us. So Noble Eightfold Path summarized is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And I think that in general, you know, these are really, really good, and they make you fundamentally a good Buddhist. So remember, the foundation of Buddhism is to take refuge in the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, understand the Four Noble Truths, at least on an intellectual level. At least on an intellectual level, understand the Four Noble Truths. It's very important. Understand that the main root of suffering is anger, attachment, and ignorance. Or anger, desire, and ignorance, whichever way you say it. And you could literally categorize almost everything that happens into your life that's negative being born out of one of those 3. Understanding the nature of phenomena and impermanence, understanding emptiness, something that, you know, I am not qualified to really teach you about, but, you know, you can definitely read about or attend teachings by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, His Holiness Katsel Rinpoche, or come to the teachings when Venerable Lama Konchak Sonam returns here, and he can give, you know, a perfect example of emptiness, or watch, you know, the yogis of Tibet and things like that. And through your own study, contemplation, and meditation of the Dharma, you will have a better understanding. Because at first, we kind of are trying to have an intellectual understanding of the Dharma. Intellectual. then we're like, okay, this makes sense. So yeah, okay, that totally makes sense. So I need clarification on this, et cetera, et cetera. But if it makes sense to you, then why would you harm another sentient being? Why would you harm yourself? Why, when something bad happens, a disagreeable circumstance happens, a ripening of bad karma happens, do we allow our ego to take over and get so upset? We should be unshakable like a mountain in our faith. When Christianity said, I think Christianity said that, the faith of a mustard seed could move a mountain. This is the reason why we chant so many mantras. It's not because you need to reach 111,000 mantras till you become a Buddha magically at that number. No, the reason you chant more than 100, and the mala has more than 100, a Tibetan one has 111, other ones have 108, etc. like that. The reason you chant more than just the 100 is because of errors that you might have made. You might have been chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum externally, and for a moment your mind was somewhere else, so you weren't in there. And so, and the other thing is, when you chant the mantras, you should feel a joy that comes from the central channel of the body, like almost like your heart is radiating pure compassion for all sentient beings. It's not just a sound that is clearing your mind of obscurations. It is a sound that is liberating every sentient beings, from beings you can't see, beings behind me like butterflies and insects and centipedes and everything like that. Birds up in their nests on the corner of the roof, fishes outside, everything. Your heart is opening like a lotus flower, and these mantras are purifying you completely and being sent in every single direction. Now we know that the Four Noble Truths, we know about we have a better understanding of the Noble Eightfold Path. But then, so now you have an Upasaka, a Buddhist is one who takes refuge in the Buddha. And then, an Upasaka is a Buddhist who has taken, the 5 moral precepts. And then now we talk about the Bodhisattva. And what makes you a Bodhisattva is following the 6 Paramitas, or the 6 perfections. And I don't need to go into them in long, like I did the Noble Eightfold Path, because everyone understands that these are basic fundamental things that a Bodhisattva does. Bodhisattva means courageous one, because it takes a lot of courage to not think about yourself. Shantideva has been quoted, and this is in the 8th century, quoted by saying, all happiness in the world is from seeking others to be happy. All suffering in the world is from seeking one's own happiness. And just think about that. That is very important. And so it makes you a bodhisattva is basically your motivation, whether you're going to be a benefit for just yourself, whether this practice is just so you can have peace, or whether so you can be a positive impact on your environment, on your friends, on your roommates, on the people you take care of. What you become a bodhisattva, you basically are truly holding all of the Buddha's teachings. And more than that, you are engaging in conduct that takes courage. You're engaging in the 6 perfections that make you a bodhisattva: generosity, ethics, patience, joyful endeavor, meditation, and wisdom. Wisdom. So let's talk about wisdom for just one moment. So for example, if I have a friend and they have a challenge with drugs, and they ask me for money, they say to me, I'm hungry and I need some money for food. The first perfection is generosity. So naturally you think to yourself, of course, you're going to go ahead and help this person. But remember, it's the six perfections in its entirety. So you must also use wisdom. So instead of, giving them directly money, go ahead and go to Publix or I guess here it's Harris and Teeter, I never say it right, or Whole Foods or something like that, and get a gift card that can only be used for that. And this way you have satisfied the ability to give it, and then dedicate that to the benefit of all sentient beings. Because generosity is not generosity unless you give without attachment, but also give while being wise. You don't want to further their suffering. You've taken vows against that. You don't want to cause suffering in your life. You don't want in any way to be able to do that. So these are guidelines for practitioners and what makes you part of a Sangha. And the reason I wanted to discuss this today is because, we are, we're now in stage 2 of 3 of becoming a nonprofit. And so in becoming a nonprofit, they ask us things like, the government asks us things like, oh, well, what is considered a member? And what is considered, part of the fellowship or something like that. Well, we believe in Sangha. We believe we are truly not just a nonprofit by the state and by federal or anything like that. We're a nonprofit in our hearts. We don't believe in any of this kind of, this person is better than this person because this is a better donor, or this person comes every single day. Your level of what determines whether you're Sangha, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're an Upasaka, whether you're a Bodhisattva, is purely based on your conduct. If you belong to Katsel Meditation Sterling, you are kind, you are generous, you are a good listener. You honor yourself and you honor the lives of others. You don't take life. You don't steal from the center. You are always working on your practice at home or with others. You are a listening ear when someone needs it. You offer tea if you have nothing to offer, or paper if you have nothing to offer. But no matter what you do, the biggest offering and what sets you apart from all other sanghas is your compassion, your bodhicitta, the center of great compassion. We not only preserve the endangered Tibetan culture as presented by the Drikung Kagyu lineage here, a lineage that is authentic and recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, but our Sangha has a mission statement that our Sangha, to be part of our community, to be truly a member of Katsel Meditation Center, if you had to label it as memberships, is that you follow one philosophy: kindness. Kindness and compassion for all mother sentient beings. Any one of you can sit right here and give these same teachings, and with venerance, you will all be venerated. For you are all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and you should look to each other as all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and more than that, as Sangha, you are family. And you must never speak ill of family. It is a very, very heinous karma, or heinous is how it's spelled, but I always called it heinous because of Law and Order. But special victims thing. The Sangha is important. You cannot cause a Sikhism in the Sangha. You always have to treat them like they are your true brothers and sisters. They're your Vajra brothers and sisters. Whether they are a good practitioner or a mediocre practitioner, that's all you and your judgment ego. All practitioners good, whether it's a person coming for their first time that's just a seeker, or whether it's a person that's taken refuge that is a Buddhist, or someone that follows the complete Buddhist practices and belongs to an authentic, Sangha and is a Sangha member, or an Upasaka, or a Bodhisattva that follows the 6 perfections, everything like that. No matter what, these are your support. The way you reach enlightenment is through taking refuge in the three gems, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent. And the way to do this is through engaging in conduct of body, of speech, and of our minds. Our minds, which we hold right here. Our minds, which are limitless in their potential, for the benefit of all sentient beings, must be pure. So today you got teachings, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and dedicate. And so the dedication prayer is on page 19. By the way, going forward, we are going to be spending a lot of time working on these meditations. So training wheels are coming off, okay? And so we are going to be focused on practice, 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 practice when we come here. And this is go for the same thing on Sunday. And then in November, we'll be having a Thanks Vegan. So, so that we can all celebrate, a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, we'll do a Thanks Vegan, and we'll do a practice on Thanksgiving. We'll be closed, but we'll hopefully everyone will join me in a long Mani mantra count for all of those turkeys. So with that in mind, from this point forward, until we meet Lama Konchak Sonam, Venerable Lama Konchak Sonam, my teacher, and he returns here to our center to start us on Myundro, the preliminary practices of the Buddha, and to offer refuge ordinations to all those that are wishing to have their Buddhist name with our lineage, our precious lineage, and take any of the Upasaka vows, whether it's one or all of them, or any Bodhisattva vows, etc. When he returns, you will be ready. And that's the most important thing. So for now, we used up our time that we would normally read the prayer book, because it is important for everyone here and everyone on Zoom to understand that we are going to be focused on memorizing these prayers, which are all in the Nundro text. Okay? My Lama was the disciplinarian of Katsel Monastery in Tibet. Okay? And he is the most joyful, happiest, wonderful Lama to ever meet to me. He's stern to me when he needs to be, and just is all-knowing. He brought me into the Dharma. And in essence, I feel he saved my life. And so I'm forever grateful. There's many other lineage lamas that I owe my life to, because the blessings are continuous. But remember, what makes you Sangha is that heart of compassion, that philosophy of kindness. Page 19, Tibetan. Janchu sem chore boshe ma kye banam kye gyoshe kye banyam ba me ba ya gong ne gong du ba wa sho Jan chu sam jo rim bo she ma kye pa nam kye gyu she kye pa nyam pa me pa yan gong ne gong du pe wa sho Jan chu sam cho rim po she ma kye pa nam kye gyu she kye pa nyam pa me pa yan go ne gon du pe wa sho. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where is it unborn may it arise, where it is born may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Tujiche, 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 tujiche. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We've only got a little bit to go, and we will be seeing our wonderful Lama, the spiritual director of our beautiful center. Continue your practices at home, read your prayer books daily, and be prepared, because starting Wednesdays, we're going to be doing these prayers. We're going to be doing it in Tibetan and English, and we are going to be doing a mantra recitation round every single time. Okay? So have your malas, have your good hearts, and everything will be good. To all of you out there, I appreciate you. Take care.